Based on my worldview, it can be safe to say that I am a spiritual person but also an omnist because I believe that all creeds are acceptable and useful. Nevertheless, there should be no connection between religion and spirituality because the core energy of the universe is love. Thus, the universe does not judge anyone, as it does not work based on the principle of worthiness. Each person's thinking determines how they decide to view the situation. Life should be seen as universal because atrocities and unfairness affect all people equally. This idea stems from the fact that all people equally deserve to be happy or suffer from time to time to attain a better life outcome. The universe cannot be considered external because it is based on the principle of not judging and having the ability to see good even in bad situations. This essay is going to cover the topic of the importance of remaining neutral instead of dividing the world into the good and the bad. To begin with, I live my life based on the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Overeaters Anonymous. It helps me look at things from several different angles since I only label events as good and bad on a short-term scale. My idea is that humans tend to be limited in how they see the world, meaning that the notions of the good and the bad should not be divided completely. Something considered good at first could lead to negative outcomes on a long-term scale. Therefore, I choose not to judge myself because, in most cases, it would only lead me to waste time and energy without any practical outcome. Life experiences taught me that the best outcomes often derive from disastrous circumstances that could only be described as horrible at first. Without a doubt, each person is exposed to good and bad things throughout their lifetime. The parable about a Chinese farmer whose horse ran away cited by Acosta represents a perfect example of why no events should be judged quickly. People should always look at the bigger picture and think about how certain smaller events could have led to bigger outcomes throughout their lives. This is a universal truth that relates to one's ability to let the universe show how fortunate events could lead to ill-fated outcomes or vice versa. Human life is too short to have us recognize and predict the possible outcomes of the story. This is why our surface-level understanding does not have to become a source of judging minor events and believing that we can evade all misfortune successfully. Therefore, it can be safe to agree with Acosta and live in a place of neutrality instead of picking sides. Life is going to become significantly more comfortable in the case where a person decides to accept what they are given and make the best out of those circumstances. This is why people need faith to remain human and stop judging other people and things. My choice is to meditate daily and focus on the universe and its plan for me. Thus, I choose to accept everything that comes my way to step away from the position of judgment. It could be a much better solution to contribute to the plan developed by the higher power and connect to it. The idea would be to remain peaceful and hopeful regardless of what happens to become a source of happiness and joy. On a larger scale, I am not interested in finding out why certain things happen, for example, suffering and disasters. Instead, my universal task is to refrain from labeling people as good and bad since we all experience pain. Being judgmental is never the answer because it does not help alleviate the events or cancel them. This is why it is so important to listen to the universe and accept what it offers at all times. The higher power had me go down the way of suffering as well when I had to learn that my mother had cancer. It was exceptionally hard for me to accept the news, but I knew that the universe would never discriminate. I had to trust the higher power, even though my heart was racing and I did not know what my future would be. Even though people tend to exert their best effort to withstand what scares them, some situations are often left beyond our control. Therefore, human willingness to trust is tested daily because there are situations that leave the whole community affected. The problem is that many of us are too preoccupied with trying to find out why bad things happen instead of focusing on what we could achieve because of it. This is why sitting still is never the answer because it would inadvertently lead the person to judge others and come up with explanations that have nothing to do with real life. The killing of George Floyd became one of the most touching events for me lately. The pain experienced by my fellow members of Overeaters Anonymous motivated me to touch on the issue of unfair treatment. Even so, we should recognize the possibility of bad things happening to good people. When the Black and Indigenous members of Overeaters Anonymous started meeting after George Floyd was killed, we recognized the need to recover and share our pains. Thus, the death of one person became a source of positive awakening for numerous other people across the globe. It was an unfortunate event that could be expected to lead to positive outcomes on a long-term scale if people stop judging. The greater level of awareness of the unfair treatment of people of color would become an essential contributor to a better society, where all would march in unity against oppression. This is why I connect to the higher power through meditation to learn behaviors that could bring me joy and hope in any situation. I would like to conclude by stating that the universe is full of tolerance, patience, and kindness, but humans have to explore their inner selves to discover all the positive constituents of everyday life. The universal laws guide me, and I never ask about why certain things happen. My vocation is to help, even if I cannot change the world. Every day, we get a chance to live life. Hence, the objective is to do something in response to what happens instead of sitting still and asking why life is so unfair. There is no place for judgment in this universe because people have to realize that the amount of suffering is equal for everyone, and humans cannot escape it. Study Corgi can help you make your studies smarter. Visit studycorgi.com for more samples like this, study tips, and writing tools.